So we're continuing our February decluttering theme, and today I bring to you lazy and fun decluttering ideas, 10 of them, which I hope will inspire you if you're not already in the decluttering vibe. I hope that it will inspire the most resistant in you to pick something and move forward with it. This is Executive Coaching with Maya, where we tune in to work and lives that feel spacious, abundant, and aligned with who we truly are. I think there can often be a bit too much emphasis on stuff in the decluttering and organizing piece. And our lives are increasingly digital. And so to me, it's so important that we pay attention to those aspects as well, because ultimately, why are we decluttering? We're decluttering so that we can have more clarity, more space, so that the stuff that we do have is easier to find, easier to retrieve. And a lot of that is actually digital stuff. I remember standing with one of our builder contractors, and he desperately wanted to show me a picture of some tiling that he'd done. And he stood there for 6 minutes, so frustrated because he was going through his phone and he couldn't find that photo. And we're going to come on to some things that we can do for retrievability of photos today. But, in this day and age, it's not often in the house that we need to be able to find. I mean, that happens as well. Don't get me wrong, especially with young kids, we need to find physical items. But sometimes that's not what we're really looking for. And in the workplace and in our digital lives, actually, we want ease of retrievability across all of these different dimensions. So that's a little bit of framing for some of the ideas that I am going to be putting out today. And definitely these are frivolous, and I really want to indulge that lazy, fun side of decluttering and say, look, we can do this in a really lazy way. We don't have to be super motivated. I think sometimes people think that I remember when I was at school, actually, a lot of the parents of other kids used to think that I had a really tidy room and I used to have a literal bomb site. And they didn't understand this because at school I was pretty organized and, doing well and things. And so they had this image that I had this perfectly organized room. And I don't. And that's the whole point. The whole point is that this stuff does not come naturally to me. And so I'm always looking for ways to do it in fun and relaxing and energizing ways where the bar is really low. And because it's never the main thing we're doing, is it? Whether it's fitness or decluttering, like we've got other big things that we want to do in our lives. So how can we do this incremental stuff in ways that work? Idea number 1. And that is box set plus online filing. So you're going to get your laptop or your other device that has your files on it, your work files, and you're going to snuggle up on your sofa and choose a box set, maybe even one that you've seen before, if you don't want to have to be concentrating 100% on it. I have recently been revisiting box sets that I've already watched, and I think it's a really cool thing to do, because sometimes the way that box sets are designed now is that we just want to race through. It's really plot driven. They're designed for that bingeability, and in that binge there is also a bit of a lack of recollection of what actually happened. And so if you ask us to recall what actually happened in Breaking Bad, it's really hard, isn't it? Because it was just such a roller coaster that occurred. So I've been finding a lot of value in picking a favorite box set and going back and watching it again. The one that I did recently was The Maid, which was absolutely brilliant on Netflix. Anyway, pick a box set, maybe a repeat one, or maybe one that's a little bit mindless. Or the other good one is all the cool documentaries that you would have on Netflix now. There's loads of those, but in an evening you might feel like that's not quite as high energy or as enticing, but maybe having that on whilst doing this other activity could be just right. And so you got your box set on, you got your laptop with a mouse, and it's just an opportunity to get your files in order online. So really get them tidied up. Again, this is not speaking to those of you who already have perfectly organized folders. This is for those of us who do allow our files to get a little bit out of control. And my other hack, because today we are being super lazy, is to say, do that quick scan of your floating items. Perhaps you've got some that have not been filed, and if that has got very unruly, do a bit of a scan of that, pick out 20 of the most important ones, put those in their rightful homes or in a special folder if required, if a new folder is needed, and then take all the rest of them and put them in a to be sorted file. So your files all look really nice and they're not spread out all over your computer in a really long list. But visually it just looks more appealing, and then you have that particular folder to work through perhaps during another box set. So that's idea number 1. Number 2 is to get on a phone call, call a friend, call your mum, call somebody that you like having a chat to. Or if you're having to do a sort of like a boring call where you're waiting to talk to a bank or something, and organize one of your clothes drawers. So maybe it's like the socks or something where you don't have to move physically around loads. You can kind of be stationary. So that's idea number 2. Pick a phone call, pick a conversation that needs to happen, and then use that to tackle an area that has just, been too like mundane for you to tackle before. Idea number 3, instead of scrolling like online on social media, use that time when you want to just have a little moment with your phone, because sometimes we want to do that as a break. We use that as a break. Instead, use that to tidy up your Apple Notes if you use Apple Notes, or to favorite some photos. So again, we are now in a world where we have so many photos, don't we? We are just overloaded with our own photographs, and many of us will never ever get on top of those or organize those. And that's fine. That's where I think the favoriting method is genius, because if we can say, look, I'm never necessarily going to organize all of that, but one little thing I do manage to do as I go along is favorite things. If we think of that, my Tyler, if he had just, when he'd taken that photo and he loved it, if he just favorited it, it would have been, 5 times easier for him to locate. But just spending a bit of time scrolling, it's quite relaxing, isn't it? To look back at your last couple of weeks or something, just favorite a few photos. I've also done, so let's say my husband's taking a lot of the photos. I've also gone and favorited a load of his photos and then airdropped them to me so that I've got them on my phone as well. So that's an alternative to scrolling. And, we can all do with a social media break, or we might be not very good about, we might overcheck our emails. And so instead of doing that as our default or sitting on WhatsApp, we could do this instead. The next idea is booking a charity service. So I have a monthly charity service that comes and collects all charity items from our door. And what it does, they send us an email, and they used to be called Wendy Wish, which you might know them as. And they're now known as Anglo Collections. But that's just one in my area. You may have other charity collection services, really worth having a look. Or if one has already crossed your path, dig into that. It is just incredible, because as I have listened to a lot of decluttering podcasts, one of the problems is once you've got that load of stuff, unless you're in, one of these American houses with just square footage and you can just house in garages and things, all of those things that need to go to charity, that then becomes a source of clutter. Whereas the beauty of having this collection is that it kind of focuses the mind, you get it all ready, and you also tell your family members, like I'll just tell the kids and I'll tell my husband, like, this collection's coming. So anything you've got that is for charity, just put it here and they'll collect it for us. And it's really good for things like books, because books can be heavy and, you can just keep a bit of a declutter. This is also useful, when you've got kids, you do have a bit of a flow of books. So they do grow out of books. And so you do want to keep that circulation going. You don't want it sitting there when somebody else could be benefiting from it. But to me, this is such a easy service to make the most of, and it goes to charity. So it's a super win. My next idea is to set a tidying 20 mins with kids or husband, family members, whoever's around in the house. I do take this one step further. So with the kids, they will argue if they're going to have a movie night or if they're going to have some screen time in the evening. They'll argue about who gets which program first. And there's always something that they manage to turn into some sort of a competition or a battle. And so my latest thing, which worked really well, was to get them to tidy their rooms. And then the judge of those rooms then decided who had the better room and then the tidier room. And then that person got to have their choice first. So that was a real win and didn't require much effort. So definitely fits in the lazy tidying, organizing category. Next idea is to have a decluttering date with a partner or family member. And I do think this is nice on the weekends, right? To just kind of pick an area and do it together, really get into it, because a lot of the spaces that we occupy, they are shared spaces, and that can get really difficult to do on your own. You can get stuck. And instead to agree and invite your partner or another family member to have that time, and it kind of is seen as something a little bit fun. You can have music on and you can, just make it into something that feels like a shared project. And again, that takes the onus off you. And it also means that whatever is then organized and put in place, everyone's a bit more invested in. The next one is to get if you have a cleaner, to get them to help you. So if you're really struggling with the motivation to deal with a certain area, just asking if they might use some of their time to help you with that. So it could be that you do some part of it and they either do the rest with you, or they're able to help you put some of it away. And again, it's sharing the load, and it's just acknowledging that capability is not capacity. And what I mean by this is that, yes, we are capable of doing all of this stuff by ourselves. But that doesn't mean that in our busy lives, when we have all the things going on, far more important than getting our junk drawer organized or our shirts organized, that we don't just need a bit of help and that we don't have capacity. And so acknowledging that sometimes what we need is more capacity means that we can utilize the help that we might have available to us. So that's where that one comes from. And I have made the most of that this week in an area that was just I was really struggling with. It was my Indian clothes. I've just got a whole load of them and I was really struggling with them. So I took them all out and then had some accountability that the next time my cleaner came, I would have dealt with them, which I hadn't. And so then with her help, we just did a bish-bosh quick job of it. And I think what's interesting here is that sometimes when we're doing our own decluttering, just like with anything, when it's our baby, we can get overly attached to it. We can get a bit slow. We can get a bit lost in sentimentality, indecision, all of those things. And therefore somebody who's completely removed from the situation coming in, who is on the clock as well and has other things that they want to do and get done or need to do and get done, can really expedite things in a good way. The next one is one which I have been referring to in January, which is podcast and declutter. So pop on a podcast and just do a 10-minute declutter of something. And it's just so fun to listen to something really engaging, acknowledging that some decluttering is a little bit, for some of us, it can feel a bit dull, and you can instead turn it into an activity where you've learned something new and you have just in a micro way tackled something and probably therefore created a lot more momentum. And the final one, number 10, is pick a couple of your favorite songs and blast them on your headphones, run around the house, putting things back into their place. Because a lot of decluttering and getting organized is not just about finding stuff and throwing it away. Like, as I've said before, we've decluttered for many years now. So it's not that we have loads of stuff that we need to throw away. Actually, a lot of it is about the organizing phase, which is about putting things in their home, finding homes for new things and restoring things back to their place. And so actually, And Lisa Woodruff describes this as something she does. She says she does this kind of like a mad run where she's going in a zigzag all around her house. It doesn't seem very logical, but things are just getting returned to their homes, because that actually becomes otherwise the problem. Let's say you've cleared a space. Well, all of those things need to be returned to their home. And if those aren't returned, then they just sit there as clutter reaccumulating. So blast a couple of songs, make it high energy, run around, get your heart rate up, go up and down the stairs, and you've got yourself a little bit of exercise, some fun, energizing songs, and you have managed to restore a bit of order and organization into your house. So there we have it. 10 lazy, fun ways to enable some more decluttering in your house. I hope you found those entertaining, and you might have found an idea from there that works for you, or you might be able to take some versions of those and mash them together and come up with some lazy ways for yourself to declutter. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know how it goes for you, and I look forward to connecting with you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Golden Hour podcast. If you found it valuable, please forward it to others who you think might benefit from listening, and be sure to subscribe to get the new episodes when they release. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave a rating or review, as it really helps the show to grow. You can find me at Maya Goodker on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find links to what we cover in the episodes in the show note. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.